Alrighty, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. So, Mike, first of all, thank you for doing this podcast with us.
Happy to do it.
We'll get straight to the point. We'll skip the formalities. For anyone who doesn't know Wellington Hyperbarics, could you paint the picture for us? Like, how is it when someone comes straight from the street and walks in?
Well, I guess the first thing that you'd experience when you walk in is you'd come into a place that's reasonably quiet. There would be a big metal chamber and there'll be people quietly sitting in it
Okay.
with a gentle hum of oxygen concentrators going in the background.
Sounds interesting. And how many chambers do you have here?
Well, we have one chamber here, but we brought in 3 chambers when we set up.
Okay.
And now we have those around the country.
Okay. Okay. And do people usually come in solo or do they come in groups?
Well, it's interesting. Often we'll have a person start by themselves and then they may end up doing it with a partner.
Okay.
That would be probably the most common thing that happens.
That happens. Okay. And what is the most common thing that people say when they get out of the chamber?
Well, it depends on what session we're talking about.
Okay.
If it's the first session, they'll say, that was different. Have I changed already?
Okay.
To which the answer is usually no. This is the beginning of the journey.
Right.
By the time they've done 20 or 40 or 60 sessions, they will have physically had massive changes
Okay.
that they've experienced for themselves. And for each person, that's going to be a different result.
Got it. Most of you that watch this channel really love the content and you tell us by commenting or liking. But the main thing is subscription. I'm sure you want to subscribe, but you've probably forgotten. So please just double check that you've hit the subscribe button. Okay, so before we get into the science and get into more details, I want to know your story. Like, how does someone end up getting a hyperbaric clinic? And was it a calling? Was it an accident? What happened?
I think like most things in life, it was an accident.
Okay.
I had hit mid-50s and I'd noticed that I wasn't as sharp as I used to be.
Okay.
It was more difficult finding a word choice. My conversations weren't as fluid as they used to be. And I noticed that I wasn't spending as much time on the computer doing difficult things because I think I'd reached my bandwidth or a level of a cognitive dissonance that I just wasn't happy doing what I used to do.
Right.
And at that stage, I realized if I don't do something about this, this may be the new normal. Of course, I went and spoke with a doctor and said, what can I do? And he said, Mike, this is just, normal aging. So I've spent a good portion of my life looking at systems, analyzing failures and realizing that this is probably a system failure within my own body. And if I could get worse, I could probably get better.
That's an interesting thought.
It's well, I think you'll find this is true in most cases.
Yeah.
We start with a brand new car, and after so many kilometers, it needs to be serviced.
Right.
We start off as a young athlete, and we age, and we become an older athlete, and we need to look after ourselves slightly differently. I was speaking with a CEO of an Australian IT company, and I told him what I was experiencing, and he had said that he'd experienced the same sort of thing, and had I tried hyperbarics.
Okay.
At that stage, I got on the phone, I called around and couldn't find a hyperbaric chamber that was operating at 2 atmospheres. So I contacted the government chambers and I wasn't allowed to go to them because I wasn't a patient. I thought the risk of not having the opportunity to do it was too high, so that if I couldn't find one, I'd get one. And that's what happened.
Okay.
It was around the time before COVID, and it went from one single-seater chamber to a double-seat chamber to a 5-seater chamber. It's made all the difference. If I'd just got a single-seat chamber, maybe we wouldn't be having this conversation because I'd just have the chamber at home and you'd have never known.
Yeah.
But making the decision to have a 5-seater started us on this journey, which has been going now for 4 years.
That sounds an amazing story.
It was definitely something unexpected.
Yeah. You were one person who decided that, okay, if the government is, due to their own restrictions, rules, is not allowing me to do this.
Yeah.
They were within their own limits.
Of course.
But you were like, I'll get my own chamber and I'll do it myself.
Indeed.
And not to sound rude or mean in a way, but at that point when you were doing this, when you got this huge chamber in your house and you obviously
Yeah.
told your family, your friends. Did anyone think that, oh, there's something wrong with him? What is he doing?
Well, I'm married, so of course my wife thought I was crazy, but she's already had decades of crazy.
Right.
So this was something expected. But when we decided to get a chamber, it was her that said, I don't want a single chamber.
Okay.
Because if this works really well, then all our friends will be coming around to home. When I spoke to the sales rep for the company, he suggested a two-seater.
Yeah.
And then I thought, well, if it works as well as we thought it would,
Okay.
we might as well get a five-seater so that more people can go in and it's more efficient.
That's such a sweet thought.
I think it was the right choice to do at the time. And having been in business my whole life, I've often lost money by doing something that was financially prudent at the beginning to only find out I should have gone further at the start.
Okay. And you said you have been in business your whole life.
For sure.
What were you doing before this?
Well, I've done a range of things. I've always been self-employed.
Okay.
And I've worked across, a number of industries. There's been music, the hairdressing, insurance, and building.
Okay.
So I guess medicine is a little bit different to those, but it's a similar path.
Okay. That sounds interesting. You've definitely been into here and there and touched everything and learned the different kinds of businesses.
Observe different people and observe people at different stages of health, for sure.
Okay. So let's make sure everyone who's listening actually understands what hyperbaric oxygen therapy is. Walk me through it like I'm a 12-year-old.
Okay, so usually when a person comes to us for a hyperbaric oxygen therapy, it's because they've tried other medical solutions that haven't given them the results they were looking for.
Right.
And they've usually been online, on YouTube. They've seen a podcast. And they have heard about the way that you can sit in a chamber, breathe oxygen under pressure, and how it can make physiological differences inside the body. So when people come to us, they really don't know what to expect because they've never seen it before. Their doctor or GP has never seen it before. So they come with a lot of hope and anticipation, but also a little bit of fear sitting inside a metal chamber.
And how is it different from just breathing pure oxygen in a mask?
That's a great question, and thank you for asking. When we breathe, let's say room air oxygen, we're breathing 21% oxygen.
Right.
And that's the planet that we live on currently. When we go into a chamber, we're breathing somewhere between about 93 to 97% oxygen.
Okay.
Based on the chambers that we have. And that's a huge increase in the percentage of oxygen that you're intaking.
Right.
Now, when you take oxygen into your body, we measured you earlier today, you were at about 97% oxygen in your bloodstream already.
Yes.
So we can take you up to 100%, and that's only a 3% gain. But what happens with hyperbarics is that the oxygen goes from the red blood cells into the plasma, and from the plasma into the tissue. And we can increase the amount of oxygen in your body by around about 1,200%.
1,200%.
And that's where the magic happens.
Okay.
That's where the ability for the body to heal happens at that level.
And that is mainly because of the pressure. Like, of course, the oxygen is there, but the pressure is what?
The pressure is what we need to take it from the red blood cells into the plasma and from the plasma into the tissue.
That's interesting. Is there any discomfort in it? Like how bad is the pressure?
Well, if you've flown in a plane, you've been in a hyperbaric chamber already.
Okay.
So all planes to a degree are hyperbaric chambers.
Yeah.
And they do that to balance the pressure in the air as you go up to an area where there's no oxygen. So we go deeper, or we have more pressure than you'd have in a plane. But for most people, they'll feel a slight pressure, and then their ears will adjust.
So taking a flight is great for my body, is what you're saying?
Well, the principle of it is great. And if you're going somewhere nice, of course, it's wonderful.
Just need to wait for the emergency mask to drop so that I can take pure oxygen.
Well, that would be good, but for the wrong reasons.
Yeah. Okay. What is actually happening at a cellular level in my body?
Well, this is where it gets exciting. This is where the magic happens. Inside our cells, which are quite small, you could have 3 to 10 cells across the width of a human hair.
Okay.
Inside those cells, you have things called mitochondria.
Right.
And what we always say is that mitochondria is the powerhouse
of the cell, yes.
Which is a very simplistic way of explaining it. But mitochondria helps generate a chemical called ATP,
Yep.
and ATP provides the energy to run the body.
Absolutely. Yes.
So the better oxygen you have, the better nutrients you have, the better electrical field you have, the more ATP you generate, and the healthier your body will usually stay. If we were to be totally simplistic about it, we're in the mitochondrial business of enhancing it to perform.
Better.
Every day you make your body weight in ATP.
Okay.
As we age or injury happens or illness, we make less ATP and we begin to express the symptoms of having a lower ATP.
That's why when we age, we say, oh, we have less energy. We are
Indeed. And
old
you
now.
do.
Yeah.
Your body is making less ATP.
Okay.
And so your body has got to choose where it uses that energy for. The signature of many dysfunction in the body is lack of ATP or mitochondrial dysfunction.
Got it. And does the benefit last long after I've done a few sessions?
That's a great question. And the answer is it depends.
Okay.
And if people come in for one session, they may feel great at the end of it, but we're not going to physically be changing their future. We talk about 60 sessions usually.
Okay.
And with 60 sessions, there's a thing called angiogenesis. We grow new capillaries and we stimulate stem cells to increase by up to 800% inside the body.
So, okay. So my viewers might not know, and I also want to understand more. What is a stem cell?
Okay, well, a stem cell is probably the most important cell that we have in the body, because a stem cell can change to about one of 5 different varieties of cell. It can help be a bone, it can help be a nerve, it can help be a neuron, it could be part of heart tissue. The body sends a signal that it needs to have stem cells do something. And if your body has enough energy and enough stem cells, it will help make the change.
Okay.
So when we're young like you've got a lot of stem cells naturally, going through your body.
Okay.
As we age, those decline.
Okay.
Now, there's a variety of reasons that happens. It's usually to do with diet, environmental exposure, activity. But as we age, those slow down and our body's processes slow down.
Okay.
Hence aging.
Oh.
So if we have a mechanism where we can stimulate stem cells or stimulate ATP, we can stay younger or in better health for longer.
So basically, in terms of longevity, it helps us feeling healthier, but also being healthier.
You'll be healthier. More ATP means you've got more energy for recovery, more energy for regeneration, more energy to produce stem cells.
And how much did you say HBOT helps in boosting of stem cells?
Well, research studies have shown about 800%.
800%. That's amazing.
And that's one of the unique things about HBOT.
Okay.
Is there's not too many therapies out there, if any, that can do that.
Wow.
So you'll find if you go online and you're looking that HBOT is very, very popular in the longevity circles.
Okay. And what conditions is HBOT mostly established for? Is there like really solid evidence that this problem you should definitely go for HBOT?
There is.
Okay.
Hyperbarics has been around for 360 plus years.
Oh, that's
so we didn't invent it and we're not the first to discover it.
Okay.
So over 360 years, it's been used pretty much for everything.
Okay.
In America and the West, there is 13 medical conditions that are approved or allowed or recognized by BedSafe or TGA or the FDA for treatment of health conditions.
Wow.
And those are 13 conditions that really only HBOT can help with. Okay. The other medicines or treatments don't have an answer for it, but HBOT is found to be pretty helpful. And that could be anything from radiation injuries caused by radiation exposure from, cancer treatments. There's things like diabetic wounds that often make the difference between keeping your limb or losing your limb. Wow. There's different forms of conditions where cells in the body try to eat the bone and eat the skin. Hyperbarics has a way of handling that. But really what we're more excited about is the 120 other conditions that are used in Asia and Russia for treating neurological conditions, anti-aging strategies, or even with helping people recover from cancer or supporting them on their cancer journey.
Wow.
That's where the excitement is in the 21st century.
I was actually about to ask, where is the latest research heading now?
Well, it's really interesting. There's a lot of chambers in China.
Okay.
They have over 4,000 multi-person chambers in their hospital system. So
That's a lot.
they've been doing this for a long time, and it's something that probably first inspired me to know more when I was living in China. I was thinking, wow, they've got a lot of chambers here.
Well, you've been to China?
I've lived in China, and it's an integral part of their medical system.
Wow.
So you might get hyperbaric treatment before you go in for surgery, and you might get it after because it helps speed up recovery. In Russia, they have 3,000 multi-place chambers in their hospital system. In New Zealand, we have 2 chambers.
Oh my.
In Australia, they have 8 chambers.
Oh my God.
In the States, they say there's around about 1,000, but it's difficult to access unless you've got insurance in America. So the growth of hyperbarics has really been with people in a position to take on a chamber and then maybe be a product of the product. Some of the world's leading football clubs have their own chambers. You'll find that a large number of professional sports people have their own chambers.
Yeah, without naming anyone, I have heard like there is a few who are considered to be the best in the world. They have their own chambers in their house. Some celebrities also, I've heard, have a hyperbaric oxygen chamber in their house. But of course,
that's true.
Nobody really talks about it.
Well, hyperbarics is quite well known globally across business and in sports.
Okay.
Usually the barrier for most people is access to a chamber.
Right.
There aren't chambers they can go to, and a lot of people don't have the finance to finance it themselves. In Russia and China, it's part of the health system where you get access to it. In the West, it's something that you choose to do. It's not usually within the hospital system unless you're an emergency patient.
Okay. Talking about emergency patient.
Yeah.
Tell us about a case that genuinely moved you. Someone who walked in through your clinic, through that door, and you saw that what was going on with them. They did X amount of sessions and they came out feeling completely fine.
Okay, well, the first thing I have to say is that we're not promising to treat or cure anything.
Okay.
In New Zealand in particular, we've got to be very careful about the words that we choose.
Okay.
I'm not a doctor, although we do have doctors work here, and we were set up with a doctor, and we have a doctor as a consultant available to our patients. So we say that we help people have the opportunity to recover. One of my favorite stories was a 28-year-old woman who had been run over by a truck. She came to us 10 years after the injury with a lot of neurological issues, with a lot of depression, and with the concern that her life trajectory was very limited. Traditionally in medicine, we're told that the brain doesn't really change and the brain doesn't recover a few months after a major injury or situation that may have occurred to the person. So we were able to have her 10 years after her event, and within 60 sessions, she went from making tea on a building site to being offered a middle management job at 3 times the salary.
Wow.
And her life had completely changed.
Is she still a client?
Well, she's still in touch with us, but she's off now traveling the world, working in a career that she never thought she would have had when she had those 10 years after the injury.
And when she first came in, was she skeptical about the whole thing?
She was very skeptical. In fact, she'd been recommended to come to us. She was suffering a lot of emotional unhappiness about the situation she was in. And she was very skeptical that anything could change because in 10 years, nothing had changed. So it was a process for the doctor, for myself, for the client along this journey of change. And can I say it was hyperbarics? Of course I can't. But she was with us for the 60 sessions. We saw her when she came in and we've seen her since, and her life's on a different trajectory. I'd like to think that we played a part in that.
It sounds amazing.
If you were to read the research that's done globally, particularly in Israel, you'll see that there's many research studies that would indicate that hyperbarics has a major impact on cognitive performance and brain recovery. And of course, that was the reason why I got the chamber in the first place.
Yeah.
So, I'm a product of the product. And it's been exciting to see other people be able to replicate the same sort of outcomes.
So, what about COVID? What was happening during COVID? Because I do remember hearing a lot about hyperbaric or HBOT during that time, but I obviously didn't know much about the whole thing.
Indeed. And I mean, look, that's a great question because hyperbarics has really come into its own over COVID.
Right.
We thought with the way that COVID affected the body that hyperbarics would be able to show that there's a positive outcome. And as people went through their experience of long COVID or COVID, they made their way here, and it's been a success story for themselves and for the clinic.
Okay.
We had young women come here with very fast heartbeats and unable to work, focus or concentrate, who anywhere between 10 to 30 sessions were able to regain their functional life. We've had a variety of people come from a variety of backgrounds, politicians to policemen, who came to us because they were afraid of losing their job.
Wow.
Because they'd been off work for so long, and they were at a stage where they were prepared to try anything. They'd gone online, found research about hyperbarics and COVID, and made their way here. And I think we could clearly say is that we've been able to replicate the results that people can read in the studies.
Athletes and performance. Is that a growing part of what you're doing here? Do you get a lot of customers who just come here because they're athletes and they want to perform better?
This is a very exciting part of what we do. Look, anybody that searches for 5 minutes on the internet will find out LeBron James, Novak Djokovic, Manchester United. They all are heavily into hyperbarics and have it as part of their protocols for being who they are. We have a number of chambers throughout the country, and I can say that we work with well-known MMA fighters, well-known rugby players, football players. It's been an exciting journey. The stories that we have about people going from the chamber to sporting events and doing super well are really inspiring.
What do these athletes say they notice the most? Is it the recovery time? Is it they're sleeping better? Is the energy more? What do they say?
Well, if you were to watch online, people talk about recovery.
Right.
But I don't believe that's the full story.
Okay.
People do hyperbarics in sport because they want to win, they want to remain number one, or they want to be in the number one team. So it's everybody can recover after an event. And it's nice to recover faster. And would you do that with hyperbarics? Guaranteed. But that's not the reason I believe they do it. They do it because they want the cognitive ability to stay sharp in a game in real time. They want the ability to go harder for longer with less lactic acid buildup and less strain on their body. And they do it to win.
Is there a protocol difference between a performance client versus a health client, or does it stay the same?
In our experience, it pretty much stays the same.
Okay.
If you breathe oxygen, the protocol that's the best for one person is likely to be very similar to be the best for another. Okay. Where we change the protocols is if they're coming in at different levels of health. We might start some people at a lower pressure and gradually build them up over time.
Okay. So let's just say I'm an average person who's going out, wanting to try HBOT out, and not trying to say that, let's just say they don't have to come here. They're in a different part of the world. Maybe I assume some of my viewers would be in India who can't come to New Zealand to do this.
Indeed.
What should they look out for? Like, I'm sure there must be chambers everywhere, but there would be different types. Like, what are the things they need to make sure that the clinic is offering in the protocol? And they should be careful about it.
Now, this is my version.
Okay.
Because there's different manufacturers all over the world.
Okay.
Everybody says their machine and their chamber is the best. And Their oxygen is the best and their way of doing it is the best. So I came in with a very open mind.
Okay.
We were set up with the principal medical officer of the New Zealand Defence Force, a naval doctor, and we said, let's just go and steal everything that works.
Okay.
We're not going to reinvent the wheel. We have no theories. We have no philosophies. Let's just go with what works.
Okay.
So on that basis, we got a 2-atmosphere chamber.
2-atmosphere chamber.
That's right. So that goes about 33 feet
Okay.
underwater.
Okay.
10 meters, 33 feet.
Is it the 280A is what?
280A
Okay.
is when we were making the purchase decision, that was the sweet spot which would get the medically highest benefit.
Okay.
You can go far higher, but that's usually in chronic medical conditions.
Okay.
And you can go way lower.
Yeah.
But most people that will do this want to get a result.
I also noticed online, I've seen there are some places which have 1.3 chambers, 1.3 ATA chambers or 1.5 ATA chambers. Would they make, let's say I do 60 sessions in one of those, would they give me the same results?
They will give you a result that you've been in a chamber. But the medical outcomes, well, it's just simple science.
Okay.
The deeper you go, the further the oxygenation of the tissue happens.
Okay.
So for bang for buck, if you're going to do it, if you're going to spend any money at all,
Money and time.
Yep, you want to get the best that you can.
Right.
So if 1.3 is the only thing available, do 1.3. If 1.5, do 1.5.
Okay.
But if you were choosing it from the beginning, you would go for 2-atmosphere.
2-atmosphere. And oxygen?
Well, more is good.
Okay.
So the hospital chambers will give you 100% oxygen piped in from their oxygen storage facilities.
Okay.
Their chambers are about 25 to 60 tons.
Okay.
Our chamber is about 800 kilograms.
Okay.
And we use oxygen concentrators where we make our own oxygen on site.
Okay.
And we run at about 93 to 97% oxygen.
Okay.
Is 100% better? Of course it is. But there's different requirements that happen when you're using 100%, where if you're trying to provide this as a service, you might not want to be using piped or oxygen in tubes.
Okay.
There's a different health and safety profile
Right.
that comes about from having that.
Okay.
So what we went for is the best of both worlds, the highest level of oxygen and the highest pressure to get the maximum outcome for every patient.
So 93 to 97 is like the sweet spot.
Well, I think it's we've been able to demonstrate it does significant benefits.
Okay.
And the risk profile is manageable.
Okay. And I've heard that there are some places where you go into the chamber, the door closes, and then they release the oxygen into this chamber. Is that the right process, or getting it into a mask while you're sitting in the chamber is the right process?
It depends on what decade we're in.
Okay.
If you anything up to about the 1980s,
Yeah.
that was probably how you got your oxygen.
Okay.
You got into the chamber, they filled the chamber with oxygen,
Right.
and you breathed it.
Okay.
Technology's moved on. Science has moved on, and the technology of building chambers has moved on. So the safest way to get the best outcome is to use a mask.
To use a mask.
So you might have 21% oxygen in the chamber, and you're breathing 100% or 97% oxygen in the mask.
Okay.
That's probably the safest thing that you can do today.
Right.
Everybody that owns a different chamber will have their own opinion on that.
What about gut health and post-surgical recovery?
I think hyperbarics is something that a lot of doctors would strongly recommend.
Okay. Have you seen anything in that space, like within your own clinic? Any client who has come in? If not, that's fine.
A lot of people that come in with a multiple of symptoms.
Okay.
So there's always one symptom that they present with.
Right.
Which I call the principal symptom.
Okay.
But as we get to know them, the doctor's told about their medical history or the medicines that they're on, we often find that we're treating a variety of symptoms. And those symptoms can often be traced back to basically a lack of energy or mitochondrial dysfunction, or a physical injury, a trauma that's happened to them.
I've also heard a lot of people go for HBOT after a heart attack or something because It helps with somehow with the heart as well.
Well, oxygen helps with a lot of things.
Right.
We can survive about 4 minutes without oxygen. So we say more O2, more you.
Right.
So if we're able to stimulate more stem cells and enhance ATP and mitochondria, anybody who goes into a chamber, the chances of being better off are going to be raised.
Okay. All right. Now I want to understand from your own pattern recognition, because you've been doing this for 4 years now. What do most people get wrong about HBOT before they even try it?
Okay, so our chambers have done about 20,000 hours of operation. So that represents hundreds and hundreds of people. So we have got quite a observational base of how hyperbarics works practically. Everybody wants to get to heaven, but nobody wants to die to get there first.
Right.
So a lot of people, when they come to a hyperbaric chamber, would like to be healed in one day or a couple of sessions. As much as I wanted that to be true when we started, it's taken decades to get to the health they've got. It's going to take at least 90 hours for things to turn around. So hyperbarics principally does a number of things. It lowers inflammation in the body. So any conditions that are suffering from high inflammation, hyperbarics, the research shows, is going to lower inflammation. We're going to stimulate stem cells, so we're going to create more resources for the body to heal itself. And really, I guess the other thing that we're going to do is we're going to grow new capillaries in the body. So to grow capillaries takes time. You can't live your life in one day, and you can't grow centimeters of capillaries in one session. So what we've found is that 60 sessions is the number that's used most often to get particular outcomes for people. So I'm saying that things will happen earlier for the majority, but if you're looking for a long-term benefit going into the future, then 60 sessions would be sort of the benchmark that you'd be aiming for.
Okay. And is there such a thing as too much HBOT?
Of course.
Okay.
Moderation in all things.
Right.
So it's biphasic. If it's too little, you'll really probably not get the benefit you're looking for. If you're doing it all the time, you risk oxygen toxicity. So we talk about 5 times a week for an hour and a half a day until you get the benefits that you're looking for. Can we tell people that they'll be healed or cured? No, of course we can't. Everybody's response is different. We recommend talking with your medical team before doing hyperbarics, or if you don't have a medical team, you can talk to one of our doctors who are familiar with hyperbarics. But we know that the human body over those 20,000 hours behaves basically the same across all patients. So the more sessions you do, the greater the outcomes that you can expect.
Actually, my next question was related to the pattern of, because you've seen 20,000 hours happen. Does it specifically help a type of person more, or certain illnesses more in your observation? Or
yeah, but I mean, that's a really good point that you've raised. If people breathe oxygen, I know it's going to work to some capacity for them. We all need oxygen, and as we age, our oxygen processing capabilities begins to decline.
Right.
The system begins to falter. If we're looking at it as a system, we process oxygen worse as we get older than we did when we were younger. So what we're doing in many ways is we're brute forcing our mitochondria to perform better than they did. When we go into our chambers, we fluctuate the oxygen. And when we do that, we stimulate the cells to perform better. And that fluctuation of oxygen from 90% down to 21% and back within a session stimulates the mitochondria to up their performance level. They respond to the fluctuation in pressure. That's why pressure is so important in what we do.
And
so the more that we have that fluctuation and the more oxygen we have, it provides a base for the body to work on re-energizing to heal itself.
And would you say hydration also plays some role? Should we hydrate
For sure.
before or in general?
Well, I think that, we've got a machine here.
Right.
And in this machine here, we can see the hydration state of the human body of that particular person. And what we'll find, even though people might be drinking a lot of Coke or soft drink or milk or juice, often they're still dehydrated for what their body requires them to be to perform. So I don't think people get better without good sleep. I don't think people can get better without good food. Those are the two fundamentals. Now, when you come to a hyperbaric chamber, we can make your body respond because of the pressure. But if we don't get the sleep and the food right, then your benefits from hyperbarics will be not as long as they could have been if you'd had those under control.
I was actually curious about this. What is this? That looks very interesting.
That's a good question. This is a body analyzer.
Okay.
What happens is you stand on it and it sends some electrical circuits through your body.
So it shocks you?
Not really shocks you. You're not going to feel it at all.
Okay.
But what it'll do is it'll send about 5 different frequencies of power through you. Mm-hmm. And from that, it's going to be able to analyze your percentage of fat, your intercellular water, your extracellular water, your phase angle. It can give you your metabolic age versus your actual age. Mm-hmm. It's quite a horrific machine. Okay. Everybody likes using it until they get their results.
Right.
But what it does is it gives us a baseline, so that we have a baseline that we can start all patients with. Okay. This is where you are today, and we can take you towards where you want to be.
Can I try this after the podcast?
Of course you can. It's a fantastic thing to do.
Yeah, that'll be. I'm curious to see how much fat I have versus muscles. Okay. Now, this is sensitive question, and I think this is also the most important question I have here. The wellness industry is full of hype. I personally know a lot of things which were hyped, and then it was shown that it's actually useless. Yeah. And a lot of things which were shown useless, but then we realized, it's actually good for you. Yeah. So how, by staying in this business, you've been here in this business for 4 years, how do you stay honest? And how do you make sure that you are not over-promising to people who are desperate?
I think that's a really good point that you have raised, because a lot of people live on hopium. Hopium is what keeps them going. They hope that the next thing they do is going to be the thing that makes a difference. Okay. So we've seen many people come here after they've tried all sorts of treatments all over the world at all sorts of prices. That's why I say that often when people first come here, they're either somebody who's wealthy, who has a wealthy business partner who's got their own hyperbaric machine and they want what that person's getting, or they're a top-level sports person who wants what other top-level sports person have, or it's somebody who's done their research and found out there's something they haven't done yet that looks like it could work for them. Here at Wellington Hyperbarics, we really do 3 things, or we discuss 3 things. Firstly, there's hyperbarics. Right. And that requires a large chamber, a room full of equipment, and people experienced with hyperbaric medicine. So if you can get to a chamber where you can get that, it's a really powerful modality that people should try. Mm-hmm. I'm not promising that it'll cure anything, but I'm saying there's an odds-on chance that they'll notice something really positive if they were to do it. Okay. I wouldn't have 3 chambers if it didn't work. Right. But I could just be crazy. So if you can't get to a hyperbaric chamber, we would recommend red light therapy. Okay. Now, this is where you have 1,000 different companies selling 10,000 different lamps. Okay. Or beds, or pods, or you name it. Initially, when we first looked at red light therapy, I looked at it so we could disprove it. Okay. I had a patient that wanted to spend $100,000 on a red light bed. And I thought she was insane. So I thought I'll do some research and prove to her that it doesn't work. Okay. On that journey of doing that, I found out it's an incredible treatment. Now, like anything, it depends on what you use and how you use it, because there's a variety of ways that you can use red light. Okay, so wait a second. So you went trying to prove one of your clients that red light doesn't work. So don't spend the money. So don't spend the money, but you found out that it actually works? We found out that it's incredible. Okay. So let's say that you can't get to a hyperbaric chamber. You need to get your own red light therapy lamp. Okay. And hopefully a good one and one that works. Okay. But it's the most powerful thing that you can do, probably after hyperbarics. Now, I'm biased when I say that, But if you're looking at things that are affordable, that people can do in their own life, at home, at work, a few minutes a day, that has a massive impact on the system of the human body, red light is absolutely amazing.
And when you say people need to buy a good red light
Indeed.
LED lamp, what does good mean?
Well, this is where the research comes in.
Mm-hmm.
So if you go to our website, hbot.kiwi, we've got a page on red light where I try to describe that in its entirety.
Okay.
And I have links to different research and different videos that people can watch.
Okay.
There is thousands of different red light therapy devices. I would like to think they all work.
Okay.
That's probably not the case.
Okay.
So you would want to make sure that the one that you're getting is from a reputable manufacturer, that you're not paying too much.
Okay.
The big thing that I see online is people often pay $1,500, $4,000 or more for something that would probably work at around about $50 to $100. So when you're talking about the wellness industry taking advantage of people, that's where I see it. People overcharging for things that are essentially cheap as chips. So hyperbarics will always be expensive because chambers are expensive and difficult to put in place. The other thing that we're a big fan of in, I guess, wellness and people getting better would be a thing called methylene blue.
Methylene blue. Okay.
The world's first pharmaceutical product.
Okay.
It's on the World Health Organization's 100 most essential medicines.
Oh, really?
And it's incredible.
Okay.
It's the dye that made your and my jeans blue.
Okay.
And it's been around since, I think, 1860 or so.
Okay.
So rather than me explain it in detail, there's many good podcasts or many good informational education lectures on it online.
Okay.
But we've found it to be very, very powerful. It's very, very cheap. And most people could get access to it if they wanted to.
Okay.
So red light and methylene blue together is pretty special. Methylene blue is an electron donor as part of the mitochondrial function, and it can help to make substantial changes in the body. That's not me saying that. That's the World Health Organization. Red light, again, helps with the mitochondrial process, and it's cheap as chips, and you can use it for a few minutes a day, and that will help tune up your mitochondria. Okay. Hyperbarics, a bit more expensive to get access to, but again, does powerful things to the body that basically nothing else can do, because nothing else puts you under pressure like hyperbarics does. Those are the three things that we concentrate on, because those are the things that can have the biggest bang for your buck for getting somebody to physically get some of the results that maybe they're hoping for.
All right. So now we understand what HBOT is. We understand how it works. For someone who is, let's say, a healthy person, he does strength training. He or she does strength training. They do sauna. They do cold plunge. Where does HBOT sit in that person's life?
They're going to want to be doing HBOT.
Okay.
This is going to be something that they've heard about, that they're aware of, and they can't wait to try.
Okay.
What it'll do for them is it's going to help them stay sharper.
Okay.
It's going to help them lift heavier. It's going to help them recover faster. In the aging process, it's going to slow down the decay of the human system. So it's going to be something that is going to be in their circle of association or in their world. Those people are really open to HBOT because they're looking for something that's the best and that makes the biggest difference for the time that they've got. Okay,
so let me summarize what I've learned from you today. If I want to do HBOT, ideally I want to look for a chamber which is 280A.
Correct.
They are doing oxygen, the more the better, but 93, 97 is basically an ideal one. We want a mask on the mouth, not oxygen in the chamber, because that's from the 1980s. And we want to do it for 1 hour, 1.5 hours.
Probably 90 minutes.
90 minutes is the sweet spot. And how many times should I do it?
If you're looking for true performance, you're looking for 5 times a week.
5 times
2 days off, 5 days on, until you reach the level of performance that you're looking for. And the other thing that you're wanting is an oxygen flow.
Okay.
A lot of chambers that are made currently do 5 litres a minute.
Okay.
Or 10 litres a minute.
Okay.
You're really looking at 20 litres a minute is the other part of the equation.
Okay.
So there's many chambers which look good on paper, but they don't give you the full package to get the maximum outcome from your session. So it's about oxygen, it's about quality of oxygen, it's about the pressure that you go into, and it's the liters per minute of oxygen that you're exposed to.
Wow, there's so many things. But yes, if it works, then it works, right? We need to find the right thing. If you could put HBOT in front of one type of person right
Yeah.
now, one person who's listening to this, who would you say needs to try this?
Everyone with a brain,
Everyone with a brain,
everyone who is aging,
everyone who's aging.
everyone who would like to be feeling better and a little less depressed. Imagine something that makes you more of what you already are in every capacity, mentally, physically, mood, cognitively. Everybody gets a different benefit from going in a chamber. Some people have already got their strength together or their fitness, but what they're looking for is maybe a mood adjustment. Maybe they're looking for positive thoughts. Maybe they're looking for enhanced cognitive ability. See, a lot of people have had an accident or a brain injury or a fall or a concussion when they were younger. And at the time, everybody was concerned, but then time went on. Often those wounds in our brain stay with us for a lifetime, and it makes us lesser than what we could have been. So often you get perfectly normal people going into a chamber, and after a number of sessions, they come out with an entirely different view of life because some of what they used to be has come back, where they were told it would never happen.
And who would you say this is not for?
Okay, people that don't need oxygen.
So dead people.
Well, any body system that requires oxygen will get a benefit from it.
Okay.
Just like any car engine that gets tuned up will be better.
Right.
Any oxygen system that gets tuned up with hyperbarics will be working better than it was before.
Okay.
Now, a lot of people won't necessarily believe that, or they'll never experience that because they'll never do it. But it doesn't change the fact that oxygen will do what oxygen does.
All right. So let's talk about the future now.
Mm-hmm.
5 years from now, what does HBOT look like in the New Zealand scene? Do you think it will go mainstream, or does it still stay like a specialist tool?
Look, oxygen will go mainstream.
Okay.
So as technology improves and the chambers become smaller, they're going to be popping up in all sorts of different places. But where I believe it'll make a substantial difference in New Zealand is if we were to get chambers into prisons, we'll change New Zealand's community.
Okay.
95% of female prisoners in New Zealand suffer from a brain injury. It's around 70% of male prisoners suffer from a brain injury. Until we fix the brain, nothing gets better, nothing changes for people. So the power that I see of hyperbarics for us as a country is being able to change the destiny of people that may be in an endless loop of coming in, going out of the prison system, expecting things to change that never will because their brain doesn't get better. That's where I see the future, and that's really why I did this. When I was younger, I was in a position where I got to work with a lot of people through the WINS government system.
Mm-hmm.
Great people making bad choices. They don't make bad choices because they're bad people. They make bad choices because their brain doesn't work as well as it could. Now, the thing that I've discovered on my life's journey that works the best for changing brains, and this is my personal thought, it's not a guarantee of cure or treatment, is oxygen can help brains work more efficiently, work better, and change people's moods and behavior because the brain comes back online.
Yeah.
Their brain may have been at 80%, we take it back to 90%, their life will improve. Maybe they were at 50%, we take them to 75%. Better brains make better decisions make better lives, and better lives is what we want in a country.
Right.
The cheapest and simplest and most effective thing we can do if we're concerned about the quality of a nation's mental health is to give people the opportunity to get their brain working better than it currently does. I believe that's where hyperbarics will meet the community and where it'll become a thing that just people do.
That was really such a good answer. Are you planning to grow Wellington Hyperbarics?
That's a great question. Of course, every business wants to grow, but
Right.
what I want to grow is people's adoption of hyperbarics in their life. We have people ring us from around the country that can't get to Wellington Hyperbarics. And as we started this journey, we've now got a business that's operating in Palmerston. There's a business operating in Auckland. There's a business operating in Timaru. There's one being set up down in Invercargill. So what I'd like to think is we're seeding other chambers so that people can get this treatment and this opportunity in their own locality. As a business owner, it's a big deal to buy chambers and to set up facilities. But as people experience it here, they go back to their own community and want to set one up for their community. That's what we're doing. That's the focus.
I understand a clinic itself is a lot of investment.
Yeah.
But since I'm not aware about the chamber, are they expensive as well?
They're super expensive.
Okay.
Look, they chambers start anywhere from about $3,000 for a bag.
Okay.
That wouldn't meet our requirements.
For a bag?
For a bag, a vinyl bag
Okay.
that you inflate with air.
But then it wouldn't have the pressure.
It won't have the pressure, but those are still available.
Okay.
And then you can go right up to 50-ton chambers,
Wow.
which cost millions of dollars.
Oh my God.
So those are usually in hospitals or universities overseas.
Okay.
The ones in New Zealand, one was donated by the New Zealand Navy, and the other was originally donated by a group of divers down in Christchurch. The chambers that I guess we've seeded people that are involved in medicine that have decided to set this up alongside their primary business. I think doing what we're doing, you have to be a little bit crazy because of the amount of investment and time that goes into it. While there's a business model to treat the people that you want to be treating, to help the people that you want to help, you have to be a little bit out there to do that. And fortunately, there are crazy people out there who have seen the changes in their own life and want to replicate that in their own community. So I don't know whether that's a clear answer, but that's probably an accurate answer.
I think that's a very good answer. Last question. What is the thing about HBOT that still surprises you, even though you've done so many sessions and overseen so many sessions? And what do you have to say about that?
That's a really good question. Thank you for asking that one. It's difficult and it's easy. The thing that I've observed is that it works for people that do it. 4 years ago, I'd have said I wasn't sure whether this was going to work. Now I know that it will make a positive difference on the patients, or the people that come as our clients. I have a surety to know that people can find what they're looking for to a large degree. Can we promise anything? Of course not. But for the people that have done the sessions, we've had some wonderful results that have been life-changing for them.
What does this work mean to you personally?
That's really interesting. You know, at the beginning, it was just going to be something I did for me, for my own brain, for my own life to be better.
Right.
And it's grown to become something so much more. Because we've got the chamber, we believe it's our sort of mission to share it, that it can make such a difference in people's lives, that people can get the lives back that they were hoping for. We've witnessed that many times. So it's become, it's not a job, it's not a business, it's more of a calling. I'd love it to be a job, I'd love it to be a business, but we do this regardless because of the difference that it gives people to turn their life around.
And if you had to describe, and this is my last question, I promise. If you had to describe what you have built here in one sentence, what would you say?
We've created a vehicle for hope that odds on appears to work on a frequent basis for the people that do it.
That was amazing, Mike. Thank you so much for doing this podcast.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Really appreciate it.
Can I try HBOT actually? I really want to try it.
Of course you can.
Yeah.
Come on through.
For the entire team. Thank you.
Basically, this is the same hammer.
This is a 5-cylinder chamber opposed to 2 atmospheres.
Okay.
It was made in Europe by a couple called Oxyhelp. This is the chamber that started everything off.
Wow. It's quite big.
It's a big chamber. It's like in the small private cheek.
Right, right. It looks like a private gym from inside.
Well, come on out, take a seat and experience it.
So how many people can this seat here? 5.
This is a 5-seater.
Okay.
And this is a lovely, comfortable chamber to be inside.
And this is where the oxygen.
The oxygen comes out of here, comfortable seats. We've got controls here on the inside.
Right.
You've got a door which closes that. You've got full view outside so nobody feels enclosed.
Right. This is quite nice and comfortable.
It's
I can probably go to sleep here.
many people have.
Yeah. So now we have understood such good things about HBOT. I'm just curious, like, is it just on paper or does it actually work? Because I've not personally met anyone who's actually done so many sessions apart from you.
For sure.
But this looks promising, but at the same time, I'm a little skeptical.
And that's normal.
Yeah.
So tell you what, I could talk to you till I'm blue in the face and tell you about what you could expect.
Yeah.
Why don't we do a 60-day challenge?
What do you mean 60-day challenge?
So why don't you and your team come in and try Hyperbarics for 60 days. We'll get some data before you go in. We'll get data throughout and we'll have data at the end. And we'll see what it does for you and your team. Because it doesn't matter what I say. It matters what happens for you.
I mean, if there's nothing to lose, it sounds good.
I think you should try this and we can do it.
Maybe we could. Well, I think let's keep it to the audience. If they want us to try it, why not?